So hello there and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Bakshi and this time we're going to be going over Parse push notifications in iOS 9 using Swift 2. Now, I haven't really found many resources on this online, and I've mostly only found resources for Parse push notifications for Swift 1 and iOS 7 and 8. Which is not very convenient considering the fact that all of these videos are also really long and they're very hard to understand. In fact, this took me quite a while to make, and so, since this took me quite a while to make, I'm creating a video on it. Now, I didn't come up with the idea for this app. It was actually sent to me by one of my subscribers. His name is Ali Akawi, and I'm going to show a picture of him now. This is Ali Akawi. He's asked me to make a video of how you can actually use Parse to display push notifications on iOS and other platforms. I'm only covering iOS in this video, but I may cover other operating systems as well in the future. Anyway, let's get to the actual video so we can explain the question. So now that you've seen Ali's question, let's actually get to the video. Now, essentially what I'm going to do in this app, we're going to have two separate iDevices. These iDevices will be able to send push notifications to each other. But wait a minute, they won't send them to each other. They're going to send them to all iOS devices connected to this app. However, in the next part, I'm going to be showing you how you can send to specific people. So now let me just really quickly explain how the push notifications will work, then we'll get to the coding part. Okay, so let me just open up here. So let's say we have a few clients, like iPhone number 1. Okay, so this is iPhone number 1. Then we also have number 2, who has a bit bigger iPhone, I guess. And this is number 2. Okay. Now, let's say over here we have the Parse database, which I guess I'll just draw like this. And this is the Parse database. Now, my instance of this, let's just say it's this. This is my instance of Parse. Okay. Now, this has a little section for push notifications. So essentially what we're doing is these two iDevices, in their app delegate, we're setting them to keep on looking for push notifications over here. But wait just a minute, this can't be too simple. There's also Apple coming in the way. Here what we're just going to do, Apple's just going to act as like a little bridge in between us. What's going to happen is, let's say I create a new push notification over here with text like, let's say a new push notification of hello, use my app. Okay. So now what's going to happen, this push notification will make its way over to Apple. Apple will make its way over to these two devices. And then on here, we'll either see a little notification here, or if you're on the lock screen, it'll open up, say, the time and stuff, and then show the notification on the lock screen. So that is really simple, actually, even though it seems very complicated. And so what we're going to be doing first in this video, we're going to be handling the Apple part, which is the most complicated part out of all of this. Then we'll handle the actual coding of the app. This is the second part. This is the first part. And then we'll actually handle the parse database, which will be our third part. So let's get to the Mac part now, and so we can code this app. So let's get to it. So welcome back to the Mac part, and now I'm going to be showing you the actual implementation of this in Swift. So to get started, we're going to have to do a bit of preparation. So first of all, what we're going to do is I'm just going to make my face smaller. Can't have a YouTube video without one of those jokes. Then I'm going to come over here into Xcode. And of course, okay. I have a little template actually for this app, which you're going to have to just open up in your own version of Xcode, and a link to it will be in the description along with source code. And so what you're going to do inside of this little template is you're going to see, first of all, this is very, very crucial. You have to change bundle identer from com.fill.meup to whatever your usual bundle identifier would be for this sort of thing. For me, it would be tbss.parse tester, something like that. Make sure you choose your correct team, and then yeah, you have to go into capabilities. Make sure push notifications is on, and if you see this little error here, click on the fix issue button. And then in a second, it should give you a check mark. Perfect. You have successfully set up the template. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to go into your Apple Developers Member Center. Then you're going to sign in to your developer page and go into your Certificates, Identifiers, and Profiles page. Open up Identifiers. And then I'm going to search for Parse, and as you can see, I see Parse Tester. Now I'm going to click on it and click on the Edit button. We're going to scroll down till we see Push Notifications, and where it says Development SSL Certificate, click on Create Certificate. Now all you need to do is open up Keychain Access. Then we're going to click on this Keychain Access button over here, Certificate Assistant, and then request a certificate from a certificate authority. Then it already fills everything in for me, but I believe you're going to have to fill in stuff for yourself. So your user email address can be anything really, your name, then the CA email address, make sure that is blank. And then click on the Saved to Disk option, and do not check this box. Continue. And then it'll ask you where to store it, so I'm just going to call it, I'd say, just a second, push certificate request. Okay, then I'm going to just save this to my desktop because we're going to delete this anyway, and click on the Save button. You don't need to show in Finder, so you can just click on the Done button, come over here and click on the Continue button. Then click on Choose File, and choose the file that you have just created. Okay, perfect. Click on the Generate button, and then you don't need to download this certificate just yet, or actually, never mind, yes you do. Okay, once you've downloaded the certificate, just click on the Done button, and now you're done on your Apple Developer page. Now click on the certificate you just downloaded, and it should open it up into Keychain Access. Make sure you click on the button My Certificates. If you do not do this, it usually will not work unless you select the correct entry. So click on My Certificates. Then search for the one where it says your app ID, which is this one, Parse Tester, for iOS push services. And make sure it hasn't expired or anything. I just created mine, so it of course won't expire just yet. But just in case you're using an older one, make sure it isn't expired, or else it's no use. Okay, then right click on it and click Export. Then make sure you're using the personal information exchange file format. And if you aren't, if you don't have this option, if it's grayed out like these two, then you're probably using it from all items. You're using a different version of the certificate. So just make sure you use the one in My Certificates. So then I'm going to just name this something like Parse Push Tester. Yeah, that's it. Click on the Save button. Now do not give this a password, so just click OK. Then type in your computer's admin password and click on Always Allow. Or just Allow. Okay, now you're done in Keychain Access. Now you have to do stuff in Parse. Go over to Parse and click on Go to your apps after signing in. Create a new app, and I'm just going to call this Parse Tester. Click on the Create button, and then click on Push. And then go to Settings, then click on Push again, but this time from over here. Then what you want to do, now listen to this very carefully, you're going to have to enable client push. This will allow your iDevices to push to Parse. Then over here where it says Apple Push Certificates, wherever it says certificate file.p12, click on Select Your Certificate and open up your certificate file. Okay, perfect. Now it has uploaded this certificate onto Parse. Now that you're done this step, you just want to go into Docs and click on Launch the Quick Start. Then there's a little thing I found in the Parse website. It resets the app over here, so make sure you click on the app, scroll down until you find the app that you were just working on. Yes, Push Example. Okay. Then click on Push. Or actually, just give me a second. You won't need to do this. I'm just checking for myself so I know. Yeah, so if I just go over to my apps. Yeah, I selected the wrong one. I'm supposed to click on Parse Tester. Okay, so if I click on Parse Tester, which is my real app that I'm currently working on, and then I go over to iOS because I'm using iOS, you can really just skip through these, just randomly select something, and then all you really need are these application keys. So double click your application ID, go over to your app delegate and paste it in for app ID, select your client key, and paste that in for your client ID. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is actually, you know what? Currently our push message is this push notification was sent. That's boring. Let's spice it up a bit because, you know what? We're learning iOS programming, so let's just do this. Hello, iOS programming. Okay, so now I'm going to run this app on both of my iPhones. So first of all, this one, then this one. So put it onto both. Okay. Is it compiling? Okay. Now, right as they start up, I'm just going to show you over here. As you can see, now they are both asking me if they'd like to send me notifications. And so I'm just going to click OK so that they can send me notifications. And as you can see, they work perfectly. Now, how do I send push notifications to these? Well, it's quite simple, really. Let's just take our Google Chrome window, make it really small, or actually a little small. I'd say this small. Bring it over to our view with the iPhones. Make it a bit smaller so it fits in between them. Then what I'm going to do is, if I come over to, so not right now we're in the Parse page. Now I'm going to click on Push. See this little here? Push. Then we're going to scroll over here and click on Send a Push. Now, actually, I'm just going to make this big again so you can see what we're doing. And it says there are no, oh yeah, so forgot the main rule that I've been teaching you. This app gets reset. Select Parse Tester again. And now, what we can do, click on Send a Push. I'm just going to choose everyone so that it sends to all my devices. I'm going to go down, down, down. And over here where it says what message, let's just say this is from Parse. Hello, iOS programming. So that we can distinguish between the message sent by our iOS device and the one sent from the Parse dashboard. Okay, let's continue. So let's send this. Now immediately if I come over here, both my iPhones just vibrated on my table, and it shows us a big notification over here, Parse push, this is from Parse, hello iOS programming. Okay, sure, that works, but there's nothing really too big in that. I could show a message from a database whenever I wanted to. I just need to use the code that I use in Swift databases. Well, let's see what happens if I click OK, and let's see what happens when I exit the app. Once I actually exit the app, and then I send a push notification, guess what? I think you've already guessed. But if I go down here, choose something like hello iOS programming from the NC, you can guess what NC means. And so if I send this now, that stood for Notification Center because as you can see, it has actually put these onto Notification Center and it has showed me the actual notification using push. So now if I go into the Notification Center, it shows me the notification over here and here. So if I click on it, it actually brings me into the app. And that works. Okay, so now what happens if I click on the Send Text button on one of my iPhones? Well then, it does exactly what you'd expect. It actually sends the text that we put in to our code. Now let's see what happens when I do that on my other iPhone. As you can see, it pushes onto both. Now let's close the app on one and send it. As you can see, it pushes. Now let's close the app on this one and open it up on this. And as you can see, just to prove to you one last time, it pushes. Okay, so that was actually quite simple for the demo of this app. Now let's get into the actual code and how that works. Okay, so now let's get over to the actual code part of this. So I'm just going to move myself over here, lower these, and stop the apps. Okay, so now let's start from the app delegate, which is the simplest part. Again, I just took these Parse starter project and I made it much better so that you can use this with ease. Because the Parse starter project still wasn't good enough. It had lots of extra code. I just cleaned that all out for you, added some more stuff in. Okay, so in our app delegate did finish launching with options function, we are just setting the application ID and the client key to, well, the application and client ID you get from Parse. We are setting the UI user notification type to alert, badge, and sound. That means that in the notification settings, if you go to your settings app and click on notifications, these are the three things that we are going to use for the notification types. Then settings is just going to be really simply what types can we use and what categories. Categories can be nil, meaning default, but the types will be the types that we just created. Then what we do is application, which is this UI application that we're getting in this function. We're just going to register user notification settings, and then those settings that we gave it, so we're registering those notification settings so we can actually give notifications, and then it shows up that little pop-up this so-and-so app would like to show you notifications, and so the user clicks OK or no, and then we have permission to show notifications. Then next, we're doing application.register for remote notifications. This means that we can receive notifications from a remote source like the Parse database. Then we're just returning true. Then this function is not required at the moment, so I can just remove it. However, did register for remote notifications with device token. Again, that's just a default function that Parse requires. I'm not going to go into it. And so is did fail to register for remote notifications with error. Again, that comes inside of the template, and I wouldn't really recommend touching them. You don't need to. Then in application, did receive remote notification. Again, this is just Parse stuff where we're handling the push, and if the application is inactive, we are calling the track app opened with remote notification payload, which is just something to do with Parse analytics. You don't need to get into that. Anyway, now let's get back to our view controller. In our view controller, right as we open up the view, like just as we're loading our view, we are immediately connecting to a channel which I like to call, well, test channel. That's just a test name. But basically what this is, there are multiple different channels of push notifications that you can have on Parse. Like, for example, let's say we have different Facebook users. Different Facebook users would have their own channels. The channels would be named their own name. And let's say someone else posts something to their timeline. That will be sent to that person's channel, and then it'll show a push notification on their channel only, or on their devices only. Or else, just imagine this. You would be getting notifications on Facebook for pretty much everybody else that's using Facebook, which wouldn't make sense. So that's why we use channels. So basically these 3 lines of code are just connecting us to test channel. And also one last thing, I'd recommend, just in case their Wi-Fi is a bit slow, freeze the app until it saves the channel, or else there will be glitches. Then once the view does appear, however, we are checking, is the height of our frame greater than or equal to 736. If no, perform a segue to 6. That's the actual identifier. So what this will do is, if we're running an iPhone 6s Plus or an iPhone 6 Plus or something of that size, then great, good job, stay. Or else what's going to happen is we're going to make a segue towards a different view that will work on 6 and 6s. And also we're checking if the views tag is 0. This is so that once we open the second view for the iPhone 6, that's going to call this function as well. And then we don't want to go into an endless loop of just calling, just going to its own view over and over again. So we don't do that. Next, what we have is the IBAction function for sending messages. Here we are forcibly trying, because I know this won't give an exception in my case. You can put in the full do catch statement, but I don't need to at this point. And so what we're trying to do, or at least forcing Swift to do, is we're going to take a PF push. I don't know what this stands for, but parse push basically. Dot send push message to channel. Then the channel name, and then the message that we want to send. So the channel in this case is test channel, and the message is, well, as you know, hello iOS programming. And that is all the code. I'm just going to show you the UI really quickly. Really simple, nothing you haven't seen before. This is the 6 view. This is the 2.6 segue. This is the view, and then these are the 2 buttons. These are the same class, so these are the exact same view, just different sizes. So this is also view controller. This is also view controller. And that was it for this video. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, really, leave them in the comments. You can also email me at tagimani@gmail.com if you'd like to, with any more questions, concerns. You can also email me a video question if you'd like to, that has where you talk. Just a second. Yeah. Oh yes, quickly before I go, let me say, in part 2, I'm going to tell you how you can target specific devices. Anyway, continuing. You can also send me a video question of you saying a question, and I might just feature it in one of my next videos. You can also subscribe to my channel if you'd like to. Contact me on Twitter at @TadjiMani. All the links will be in the description. Source code will be in the description on my GitHub page. And that's going to be it for this video. Goodbye.